Hello, welcome back.
Hey guys.
How's it going? I'm talking to you.
Oh, I thought you were talking to the maybe millions of people listening, not just me, the person in front of you. I'm doing good.
That's good.
Doing good.
I'm glad. All right. So, take 2 on this episode.
Yeah, we'll edit that out.
Yeah.
You want to actually stop?
No.
You have to be real. This is the transparent. This is the real
I'm talking
us.
about take 2 because this is the second time we're attempting to record this episode.
Okay, from the beginning. Hello.
Hey. Anyways.
Oh, take 2 because this
Yes.
is oh, I got you.
Wow.
It's a little bit behind the scenes. You guys get to this is the E True Hollywood.
This is real life.
Episode.
This is real life. This is us keeping it real. All right, so today's episode is going to be a good one. We're excited because, man, has this been an exciting journey, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, it's definitely been one of the big changes that we mentioned last episode in regards to just like all the things that have been happening in our life, for the last year. I kind of feel like this is the one that really is the reason for all the changes, probably, or at least the main driver.
One of the biggest, one of the
so.
biggest reasons why I think we've seen so many different changes.
Yeah.
I hate
growth.
Growth. It's been, I think, probably a foundation, a new foundation that we're setting, and I'm excited to talk about it. So we want to talk to you guys about our journey with sobriety.
So pretty much like it goes back, I would say, probably like beginning of last year or spring of last year. Jess was we would drink and, whatever, barbecues or go out or something. And little by little, more and more, she would tell me like, I just can't drink anymore.
Yeah.
Like my body really hates me like when I drink. And I'd be like, damn, that sucks, and like just like the seasoned veteran alcoholic that I was like, well, just should probably start taking Motrin before we drink to kind of like, so a preemptive strike to fight the hangover and fight, your body feeling like shit, like
maybe hydrate a little bit.
Yeah,
more
exactly.
You,
drink some Gatorade. What would you pound Gatorade so then you can drink more, and I know you guys listening probably have said these things and like, know all the tips of like, oh yeah, dude, that's like rookie stuff. Of course you got to do that so that you don't get hungover. But
God forbid we say, maybe we should just not drink anymore, right?
What's that? Like, come on.
Of course not. Are you
stupid?
So
anyways, that's kind of how it started. Just mentioning like, I can't drink as much, and we were by that point, like, mainly doing like seltzers because we thought we were being like, really responsible, right? And we, not drinking hard liquor as much. And if you only drink seltzers, but then we'd go get the friggin' what are they called?
The Surge.
The Surge.
The super
concentrated strong.
Double alcohol. It's pretty much
White Claws.
Double.
Yeah, the White Claws, the Surge White Claws.
It's pretty much a double of a...
Oh yeah, it's like 8% or 8.5 or I don't know.
No,
something.
they were like 9. No.
I thought they were 8%.
They were 9%, I believe.
Whatever. Anything that's over like 5 is too much.
Oh, for sure.
But... So yeah, we were doing that, and so anyways, that kind of just led more and more to just like, I think the time's coming, and I don't want to, I'm not saying anything, and I would hear it and just kind of like, yeah, so I'm gonna just walk over here and pretend like I didn't hear that, because nowhere in my mind would it ever be like, oh yeah, we would, stop drinking, like. But anyways, things, kind of moved forward with us deciding to move, and I don't know. I think it just came to one, final conversation where I think Jess was just like, yeah, I'm going to actually cut back on drinking.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you said like, do you want to do it with me? Or I think you even said like, even if you don't do it, like it's fine.
I mean,
like
I was going through a lot of different things. I started to experience like a lot of inflammation. My body was just basically beginning to reject alcohol. Like it was just like, girl, you're not going to be able to keep doing this. Like, and I fought. I mean, I really did for the last maybe year or so before we decided to stop drinking. I was pushing through. Like I was just like, okay, well, I'm gonna try this. Like you said, we went from not drinking beer to not drinking liquor to not drinking like dark liquor. Like it was just all these different things that I was just like, okay, well, maybe it's this one, maybe it's that. Like I was trying to find every way possible to still keep drinking, which just sounds so insane. But I knew that, my body was just preparing me to take a break. Like, this is just, no. There's a lot of different things that my body was letting me know that this was just not going to be something that I could keep doing, you know, for I don't know how long. But it was just time. I ultimately, what led to me making a personal decision to stop alcohol for, originally I wanted a year of sobriety, and we're still within that year. We've been 8 months sober now, right? Yes, May 1st. 8 months sober, and I just said I'm gonna take a year off. And the reason why I wanted to do this was because I have been battling weight loss, weight gain for God all my life. Like, and I just got to a point where one day I looked at myself and I was like, okay, I've been stuck on a crazy cycle of just my weight going up and down, up and down. And I knew drinking was one of the reasons why I was just going up and down in weight. I knew that it would always lead to bad eating. It would lead to me feeling like crap, hangovers, like all these things, right? That just alcohol brings. And I knew that was one of the reasons why I wasn't seeing any progress in my journey. And I had to do something.
Yeah. And it wasn't even something that like we were maybe that could be. It was like, no, we knew for a fact because like one, we had our trainer that was always like, I mean, we've been training with him since 2016, 2017. And, for years he was just like, guys, why don't you just like, even if you don't stop, just slow down on the drinking. Like it's the one thing that's holding you back from really like seeing like a transformation in with physically with because we would do strongman training and do competitions and lift weights and do all these things, and we would see changes, but it wasn't like it felt like the work that we were putting in, we weren't seeing like what we wanted to see or what we should be seeing. And he would tell us like it's the drinking, it really is. And then and then just obvious, like you can just Google it and it's in black and white, like like drinking will hold you back. And it's not even like how we thought, because before we would be like, oh yeah, that's why we're just gonna stop beer because it has so many calories and so many carbs, and if you go low carb, because keto just fixes everything, right? So we'll just stick to like vodka and clubs, or we'll just stick to low calorie like alcohol. It's not so much the macros in the alcohol. I mean, it is because there's sugar and stuff in there, but it's just the effect alcohol has on your organs, on your digestive system. And like Jess said, it just slows down your momentum. So if you're at the gym and it would, like looking back on it, we would just kill ourselves like throughout the whole week, like just really grind it out and lift and do all these things just for Friday to come and fuck it all up by going out and drinking. Because it stunts the momentum, so you feel like you're just starting over. But more and more the older we got and we were drinking, it wasn't like one day of hangover. It was like 2, even sometimes 3 days, to where even by like the 4th day is the day where I was like, okay, I actually feel like a normal human being again, where I can actually really focus back on my diet, back on working out. So that's why we were spinning our wheels with working out.
Well, if you understand the body and what alcohol does, it takes about 2 to 3 days for alcohol or your body to completely burn off the alcohol. And while your body is trying to burn the calories that you consume when you drink, I mean, that's even if you're not drinking like sugary cocktails, just alcohol in general, it takes about 3 days for your body to burn that off. And then it can go back to burning fat. Yeah. Then it can go back to building muscle.
It's normal functions.
Exactly. Yeah. But in the meantime, everything you drank, even if it's just in one day, it's going to take 3 days for your body to work through that. Yeah. So basically, all the progress that you just made that week, it's kind of like it doesn't really progress from that. You know, like you don't really burn anything extra because your body's wasting all that energy on just burning off the alcohol. So
and then also burning. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, and this is why we just were always in a stall, or we would make a little bit of progress, but then we would, be set back because of the extra calories. And then, of course, I'm sure you were going to talk about the crap that we would eat.
Yeah, I was saying, it's like not only burning off the alcohol, but burning off the freaking extra food that we would eat, you know, like, oh my God, I'm so messed up. I have to eat something before we go to sleep. Stop at Jack in the Box or this or whatever. And honestly, I mean, hey, I'm sure there are people that are like fitness people that do drink and go out and party hard and they somehow stay dedicated. They still like, no, fuck that. Like, I'll drink, but I still won't eat bad. Hey, power to you. You are probably the 1% of people that do that are able to do that.
I will say though, you know, when you're young, you have the benefits of having a great metabolism.
What's that word called? That metabolism?
Yeah, I remember your metabolism and everything seems to kind of work a little faster. But once you start hitting the age of 30, 40, and above, it takes a little longer, burn, so. You know? So we started to hit that little longer part of our life. For sure. And, we started to feel it. So I think it got to the point where we were just like, I mean, at least for myself, it got to the point where I couldn't ignore it. I was experiencing just horrible symptoms of inflammation and like joint pain and just like feeling like crap for, sometimes more than 3 days, like sometimes a whole week. And it really would take away from what I was trying to do. And I was just like, okay, well, what the hell? I'm paying money for a trainer. I'm doing all these things. At the time I was training for a competition. Like, I was just like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And as superficial as it sounds, one of the things that really bothered me was just how my body was changing. And I was experiencing a lot of bloating in my face. I had a really, really puffy face. And, if you can tell when someone drinks. You can tell when someone drinks very more obvious. Than just, once or twice a year. Like, you can tell when someone drinks, more than 2 or 3 times a month. Like,
and it's funny because even people that, like I said, like people that are really into fitness, but then they like to party on the weekends, they'll have like a fit body, and you get like a body where it's like, oh yeah, you do work out, but then you'll just look at their bags in their eyes and their face. You can just tell that they are puffy, and it's like, oh, you can tell when people are drinkers. Right there. Yeah.
And unfortunately, in my face, you could see it a lot. Like, I just was holding all that inflammation, and I just got tired of seeing myself in that way. And I was like, okay, what ultimately led to me wanting to make this change was I knew I wanted something different, and I didn't know at the time what it was. I thought it was a new body. I was like, I want to look better. I want to feel better. I'm going to make room in my life for what I want, and I need to remove something. And I just knew that alcohol was the one thing that was just taking up too much space and too much energy. And I decided to just like, hey, I'm going to take this away and let's see what the universe brings. And that's how I presented it to you. And I said, I didn't ask you to do this with me, but I knew deep in my heart, I knew that if we didn't do this together, it was going to be very, very hard. So,
yeah, I mean, everything, like, whenever your partner's deciding to do something, it's just going to be, it's a million times harder if you guys both aren't on board. And that's anything. I mean, that usually we always, speak on this when it comes to like a diet. Like, if you have one partner that's like, I'm gonna go on a diet, and the other one that's just like, well, I don't care, I'm still gonna eat freaking Oreos and pizza, it's gonna eventually, the one that's on the diet's gonna fall off, because it's too hard. I mean, you can say like, well, I have strong willpower, and it's just like, you may have it and it may last, and that's good, but it's like, why not just make it easier where there is no negative forces working against each other? When you guys are both together, it's just gonna flow a lot better.
Exactly. And you just feel like you have a little bit more support and understanding, when someone's in a journey together. Exactly.
So all that, I mean, pretty much that led to us deciding, or, just saying, hey, I'm going to do this. And then, like I mentioned, things kind of moved forward with us moving, and we really just decided, you know what? When we move, we're going to start fresh at our new home in our new, city. We'll start our year. We'll do 1 year sober and see where that takes us. And that I looked at it two ways. One of it, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. That'll be like a good way to start new, because we're already going to be somewhere new. Everything's going to be new. We might as well just like not bring alcohol into the home, and it'll be great. The other side of that is the thing that had me absolutely terrified, because we were just like taking this leap of faith and going to a new city and like not really knowing what to expect, knowing we weren't going to have anyone around us. We had our son and daughter-in-law, but like just being somewhere new, and things not being 100% secure with like jobs and things like that. I was like, we're going to be under a lot of stress, and I knew like drinking and alcohol were my go-to. Like, whenever I'm stressed out, dude, I could be under so much stress, but it's like, at least I know Friday's coming, dude. Happy hour's coming and karaoke's coming, and we'll just sing it out. We'll drink it and sing it out, But I was terrified, because I was like, how is this gonna feel? How is this gonna look? I didn't want to show Jess that I was so nervous and terrified. We didn't want to say it. Yeah, we didn't want to like jinx it or like scare the other person.
Like, elephant in the room.
Yeah,
we're both scared as shit about what's coming, and we definitely have always, since we met. I mean, we've celebrated with drinking. We've mourned with drinking.
Exactly.
We have used drinking in every way possible.
And it's honestly, and we said that and we don't sit here and blame, because we're not, I'm sure this is millions and millions of people's, experience with it or relationship with it too. It started when you were young and seeing those around you, either seeing your parents, seeing your older siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, for anyone that anyone that's Mexican or has a Mexican culture, it's just like second nature. You just drink. Like, drinking is a part of everything. Yeah. In any get together and anything, you just drink. So
any get together, you definitely that was the center of the table, was a bottle of tequila.
Yeah, exactly. It's just to drink, and then like to think of something like beer. Beer's like, well, of course you just drink beer. Like you give like, oh, he's 15, like get him a beer. It's just a beer. Like, who cares? So yeah, it's like that's where it really did start from. And and like I said, millions and millions of people that is why they have such a toxic relationship with it, because we were never really shown. And again, this isn't to blame parents or family or anything like that. Everyone's gone through it, but like, society has never really shown young people to like really understand what alcohol is, what it's capable of, and the detriments of what it can do. So it was just tough, and we knew it was going to be rather tough starting it. And I think like along the way you were saying, it was kind of a month or so into it. Jess finally kind of like broke down, was just telling me like, this has been harder than I thought, which it was weird, because I thought I was going to be in her shoes. And to me, it was just like, it actually hasn't been that bad. Like, this is kind of cool, but eventually it would kick in. What she was feeling would kick in for me, but you felt it first.
Yeah, because I was a little cocky about it because I thought, well, physically, I know how I feel and I don't want to feel like that anymore. So, I'm just going to stop drinking and I'm going to feel great. And this is going to be great because I'm going to feel better. And yeah, that kind of did happen. But I wasn't prepared for the mental part of it where I was not just craving the alcohol, but everything that came with the alcohol. So our date nights, our, little just quick little getaways that we would have, and or even when we would go out to dinner, we just have, a cocktail or, all the things that came with drinking. I wasn't prepared for that part of the process of letting that go. And I think once I realized, I remember the first Friday night, because for some reason Friday nights became like my trigger.
That was our date night.
It's like, well, Friday nights we usually do this, and even if we don't go out, we would have a drink at home, or we would just do something that involved drinking.
Yeah.
And the first night that we didn't get to do that was a little sad for me. And I think that's when it hit me that I wasn't so much, physically dependent on this, but mentally I was dependent on the high that I got from, getting ready to go out to go have a drink and everything that came along with, us drinking. I missed it.
Yeah.
And that became very, very difficult for me. I remember one of the first times that we went out with the kids out here, in our new city. It was, this little adventure park, and of course it's families, and we walked in and you just see all the parents holding a can, and it was a seltzer.
Yeah.
And I was just like, dang.
Even the zoo, remember we took the boys to the zoo.
The zoo they sell. And I was just like, and no judgment. I mean, I get it. These are, anytime you go anywhere that has kids is stressful. And parents are just like,
exactly.
They try to find a way to deal with that stress. And I 100% understand. But to know that that's not an option anymore, you have to kind of deal with everything that comes with, being in public places and all these things. I understood that I used drinking a lot because I have a lot of anxiety, and I have a lot of anxiety being in public places, and especially with our kids being special needs, that brings another layer of stress. So I was now understanding alcohol kind of just made it a little easier, at least I thought, easier for me to be in these situations. And now just not having that and being in a new place, it was like, oh, this is actually a lot harder than I thought.
And I liked, you had mentioned before we were talking about it, and the kind of the metaphor that you use for alcohol, and it's so true, and it really does speak to when people say I have a relationship with alcohol, it is exactly that. Alcohol has become, like you described it, it is the friend that you've known the longest, that you would say I could always call and they would have my back. They're always there no matter what. They're there to help me when I need it, when I'm sad. They're there to celebrate with me when I'm happy. They're there to give me confidence when I'm feeling low. It's that relationship. And it's anytime we make a change in our lives, or we let something go, or we kick a habit or whatever, or we say goodbye to a friend, or we have to say goodbye to a friend, you have to adjust and mourn the death of that relationship, and mourn not having that thing or that person in your life anymore. And like you said, it wasn't just the giving up of I'm giving up just, being drunk and having fun on a Friday. No, you're giving up that that friend. You're giving up that thing, that person that's been with you, your ride or die.
Your security blanket.
Exactly. Because and like with me, like I have such a strong relationship with it because I have a dependency, not so much like physically where my body needs it, but a dependency in I feel I needed alcohol to be me, to be the persona of, oh, Derick, the funny guy, the one that everyone likes, everyone likes to have around, the life of the party and blah, 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 blah. And that started just drinking in high school. Like all the close friends I had, we all drank and, drank way too much. And I was always known as, like Derick's so funny. He's the funniest guy. Like, blah, blah, blah. Because I was always drunk. And like, to me, I thought I was only funny and people only liked me and only wanted me around when I was drunk and that I would be so boring if I wasn't, because without it, I'm actually a very shy, timid person and I don't like confrontation and I don't like to make waves. And it's just like, it's hard for me because people would be like, oh yeah, you have no trouble walking to a party and just start talking to people. But most of the time it was because I would be drinking. At least I thought that's what it was. But more and more now being sober, I realized like, oh shit, I actually can just talk to people. I don't really feel nervous. Like, it is, maybe that really is my personality, or it turns out it is my personality. But yeah, so like having to say goodbye to something that was like not only just a friend, but like my protector, my shield, my everything, my super juice, it was hard. And I'm sure that's what it is for a lot of people,
Yeah, no, for sure. And like I said, the security blanket of having a drink and thinking that that's what's making you be more likable, more sociable, more exciting.
That's the
funny.
lie. The lie it tells you that you need me to be that.
Exactly. So you quickly realize, especially once you stop drinking, is that friend you thought that was a friend is actually an enemy, right? Like this is a friend that is just like waiting to backstab you,
or it's the friend that's like, it's like, yeah, I can always count on them, but it's like the friend that's like, oh no, I'm there for you, man, like, but you have to come pick me up because I don't have a ride. I also don't have any money, so you got to pay for me, bro. And I actually have to crash at your house, and you have to like, you have to give me a ride to work tomorrow. Like, you got to do everything for this friend, even though you feel like you need the friend.
And I'm probably going to leave a mess. I'm probably going to leave a mess, and you're going to have to clean it up.
Exactly.
And that's
I'm going to throw up all over your bathroom, but sorry, bro, I got to go in the morning.
That is exactly what happens when you try out sobriety and you realize, like, oh, that was such a bad relationship. Like, that was just really taking from me, and I got nothing back from it. And, I want to say, though, really quick that, this is us speaking from obviously being now 8 months sober, but we still have moments where we're like, damn, we miss certain moments. Yeah. We miss certain things, and
we haven't even felt, I'm sure, the full brunt force of it, of hitting those like, damn, this really, like, this is hard and I really want to drink right now. And like, I mean, like we said, summer's coming up. We're so used to like summer being like, oh, barbecues and drinking and all that stuff.
I've had a couple moments, probably the first maybe 3 months that I had moments where I'm like, God, I just wish I could have a drink. Like, and I honestly, I can't even tell you what those moments were, but I remember having that. But just sitting with it and just feeling it and acknowledging it was really the only thing that got me to the other side of, wanting a drink to understanding why it's better for me not to have one, because I knew that I needed to feel whatever it is that I was feeling to learn to cope and to learn to, to deal with things sober minded and not immediately go for that crutch for that security blanket that ultimately was going to lead me to, the crazy cycle that I've been my whole life, so it was important. I think even though those moments are scary where you're just like, I wish I could just have a drink, they're so necessary, and it's ultimately what really empowers you, because that, like, if you don't have those moments, then you're never going to know whether you are going to be able to overcome temptation or not. You know, you need to have those moments to understand, like, yeah, this is how it's going to be. And maybe you're going to be sober for 1, 2, or 3 years. And then maybe after 3 years, you're going to have that moment again. But you've gone this far, so keep going. And yes, feel it, process it, and then move on. Because those moments are very short-lived. They really, really are. So, yes, we have had moments like that. But we understand all the benefits that we've gained from trying out sobriety and really sticking to it. You know, they've been benefits that I mean, God, I really do wish that we would have done this when we were a lot younger, because I don't, you know, we were just talking about a private conversation that we had earlier, Derick and I, about, you know, things that the regrets that we have, you know, especially our wedding is one of those big, you know, regrets that we were so worried about just the dumbest things, you know, like the drinking, the open bar, and we missed out on so many things, you know. We don't even have like one picture of us with all our kids together, and, you know, or pictures with, you know, some of our grandparents that are not here anymore. And, you know, it's just like all these things because we were just so worried about, you know, drinking.
Yeah.
And
it's not to say, I mean, like, I love our wedding and everyone that was able to be there with us, and, you know, all of our friends and family telling us like, oh, your wedding was great, it was so fun. And I'm just like, yeah, because everyone was drunk, dude. We had like so much alcohol. Of course it was fun. But I mean, I wouldn't take away those memories. But like we were talking about that, it's just, if we were having that wedding tomorrow, and just being in this sober state of mind, we would obviously just do things differently. And we could have made that day to include a lot more, to where it would have had a little bit more lasting memories. Because to me, when I look back on it, it was great and it was beautiful, but it was just, it happened so fast and it just felt so rushed and sloppy, and like everyone was drinking and this and that. And it's just like, oh man, I really wish I would have been in a little, or just in a sober mind to like really take it in. And I mean, I understand people say your wedding day is going to be like that regardless. And it's, you know, probably isn't the smartest idea to like make it even harder by being under the influence. But yeah, there's just things we could have just done a lot differently on that day. But we were discussing it in the sense of like the things that alcohol like takes from you. It just, it takes and takes and takes and doesn't give two shits. Like it'll just like, I'm here to, you know, take your memories, to take your time, to take your money, to take your energy, to take your health, all of it. And, you know, for people that really, really suffer from, you know, the effects of it, to destroy marriages, to destroy families, it even ends up in death. So, I mean, it's like when you step back and you just kind of like bullet point, or just like pro and con of drinking versus the cons that it can cause. It's like, dude, it's so obvious, but
it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, you know, and the thing is that from a young, you know, this is for everyone, from a very young age, we're just taught it's natural to drink. It's the common thing. Everyone does it. It's a part of life. It's like a part of growing up. You know, this is our culture. You know, if you're gonna go, like, everything involves alcohol. Like we said, like these commercials that we see are so ridiculously just stupid, where it's just like, oh, enjoy time with family, you know, grab Captain Morgan. It's like, what? Like, why? Like, why is everything that involves like family or get-togethers or friends or celebrating or anything is just alcohol? And it's like, again, it's just we're brainwashed over and over to just accept it. Like, accept this poison.
We're set up. And, you know, we had a private conversation earlier also, as we were getting ready to talk about this podcast, about, you know, how we grew up and things that we were exposed to. But even if you weren't, even if you were raised with a family that really didn't encourage drinking, and maybe Ashley did talk to you about, the benefits of not drinking and all of that, you still got to go to school. You still got to go to the store. You still got to eventually grow up and hang out with friends.
Watch movies, listen to music.
Go to college, go have dinner,
Yeah. Or like we said, go to the zoo or go
anything
anywhere.
you do, you're going to be exposed to this.
Yeah,
and God forbid that you are in any way genetically predisposed to some kind of addiction, because then, alcohol is one of the quickest things to get addicted to.
Yeah.
And so even if, it's just so, like socially accepted, and it's almost impossible to avoid. And how are, my heart goes out for the young people that, get exposed to drinking so young. I thought about it the other day, and I'm like, man, I've been drinking since I was 14. I'm going to be 44 this year. That's almost 30 years of my life since I've been drinking. That is insane.
Yeah.
Insane. And, and sometimes I sit there and think like, man, how did I drink for this song? And I kind of fall into little episodes of like shaming myself, but I'm like, dude, this is in your face all the freaking time. And unfortunately, I didn't really have the guidance that I wish I did, but I wish people would have like stopped me and told me like, hey, this is actually pretty bad. Like you really shouldn't do this. If anything, it, even within our families, because I hate to say it, but even our families didn't know better. So they just like, oh yeah, this is cool. Like this is how you have fun. And this is how, your uncles and your aunts, they just get funnier. And so it's like, to us, we just had such a warped like view on alcohol. So, I think we need to have a little bit of grace for ourselves, but once you see the truth, and once you start seeing people's lives ruined, and you start seeing, maybe even possibly it's, and I know it was in my family, a couple of people that we've lost because of alcohol, you can't ignore it.
Yeah.
And you have to see that there's obviously something to this. There's obviously, my body was sending me all the signals, but also the quality of life that I was living, there was signs that this wasn't something that I would be able to keep for another 30 years of my life. No. Like, something needed to be done.
Yeah, and it's like you mentioned, it's hard. People will know all these things and understand like that, like drinking is bad and that they really should stop, but like, because it's been a part of their lives for so long, because like us, they've been drinking since 14, 15, 16, and it is so common and accepted and pushed upon us by society that they almost, because I suffer from it, get the feeling of like, I can never quit this. Because I remember I told you, like, when you would tell us a couple of our friends that were doing, like, they were taking a year off, or they just, they stopped drinking. I remember the first thought that came in my head was like, fuck that. Like, I would, one, I just don't want to do that because that sounds like it sucks. And two, like, I really don't think I ever could. Like, I don't ever see myself not drinking. Like, I could see myself maybe slowing down or something, but like never not drinking. And that's because, again, it's just been a part of our lives for so long. And what's really shitty about it, and it's not like, you don't have to be like a conspiracy theorist or anything, because they make it blatant, like just throwing it in our face. Just like with, the nicotine and smoking, like the vape industry, what are they doing? They're making vapes that taste like fucking candy. This is bubblegum flavored, cherry flavored. Do you think those are really designed for adults? No, it's designed to grab kids at a younger age. And it's the same thing with alcohol. They do nothing but like cherry flavored vodkas, all these different tasting vodkas. And then look at, like, no adult, unless you're a drop dead alcoholic, are drinking those beatbox. Beatbox are just juice. It's just juice.
It's a juice box.
But it's fucking 11, 12%. So not only are they trying to get the kids hooked to be like, oh, look at it, tastes like strawberries. it's going to put you on your ass. And it's going to hook them. They're going to make them addicted by the time they even hit 18.
Well,
like, by the time they hit 20.
Think about their tolerance.
Yeah, and exactly. It's going to be... They want them...
When
by the time they are legally able to buy, they want them to have to buy, like, racks
I remember
and handles.
When I started drinking, like, more, like, liquor, you know... When I started getting more into like drinking like harder alcohol, I started drinking the Smirnoff Ice.
Oh yeah,
and I remember thinking like, oh, they taste like squirt, and you could just like down so many of them, right? But then of course you're deathly sick because they're horrible.
We would just mix them with Smirnoff, for the extra.
But I'm saying it's like. Now they've gone above that, and like you said, they're making it to where it's like it seems fun and friendly, and everything's is even like, better.
Even with like beer, it's like no one's even drinking just laugers anymore. Everything's about IPAs, double IPAs, triple IPAs. Yeah. Like what? Like this one's only 9%. Like that's kind of weak, bro. Like you should get to 11. Like. Well, why? Why do we?
Well, you were working at a brewery, right before we moved, and they made a 24%, beer, and it's like why?
And I would get
who needs that much alcohol?
You get the kids that come in, the freshly 21-year-olds, and they're just like, oh, let me get the double IPA. Like, do you even like IPAs? Like, no, but look, it's like 9%. Like. Do you even know what that means? Like, dude, like,
it is so sad. It really makes me sad. But, I read somewhere that, this Generation Z, Gen Z, is actually drinking less than our generation was.
I had, and, they were talking about that, saying that there was, like, statistics on, like, what did it say? Like, out of Gen Z, they polled them, like, 61% that responded to this poll said that they would be drinking less in 2025. Yeah. Like 61%. That's like a lot,
That's, and I mean, a lot of these Gen Z kids, they're already in their mid-20s. Yeah. So, it's not that they're not old enough to drink. It's just that they're actually choosing to not drink.
And that's one of the benefits. We'll do a whole other episode on why freaking social media is the devil. But one of the benefits of social media is because on social media, like on TikTok and Instagram, there's like pages and videos dedicated to like sober living, or what do we say? What they called it?
Sober curious.
Yeah, it's a sober curious lifestyle, which makes it sound very like, what are you doing?
So we identify as that.
Yeah, we identify as sober curious. I'm not curious. I know what I'm doing. I know what
I'm not
sober
curious
is.
About it at all. We were, but now we're full in.
Exactly. That's no offense, but that sounds so effing Gen Z. Like, I'm sober curious. Whatever, kid. As long as you ain't drinking, that's cool with me, dude. But they're just, we talk a lot of smack about Gen Z, but they're actually wise because they have a lot of knowledge at their fingertips with social media, with obviously the technology and stuff. But there's a lot more information readily available as to like why alcohol is not good for you.
And I do think that's probably one of the reasons why they're choosing to not drink, because they want to be present. They want to be, alive and wide open. Their eyes wide open, because they don't want to numb. What us, unfortunately, millennials, we numbed a lot of things for a long time, because when we were growing up, it was like, oh, you're sad and you're depressed, like, what are you, a bitch? Like, it wasn't something we just talked about. We were taught to suppress a lot. I mean, and the reason why is because we saw our parents do it, right? Like, their generation was even more like, they were taught to shut up and tough it out, so I think as we were growing up, we began to express a little bit more, but it was still kind of a, you had to make sure you were in a safe place. Yeah. Gen Z, they have a lot of information in their fingertips, and I think they were just like, no, we're gonna dive a little bit deeper into this, and they don't want to just check out.
They're choosing the drugs that help you or make you think rather than the drugs that don't, like, that stop you pretty much from thinking. I mean, because honestly, that's how you could sum up alcohol. Alcohol is a little off topic, but not really.
our son, I don't know if we ever talked about this, but we had a whole experience with him doing psychedelics, and it wasn't a very pleasant experience, but it did open our eyes to what these kids were doing and why they were doing their reason for wanting to dive in deeper into psychedelics. And there's a lot we can probably dissect, just on that topic alone, but they weren't choosing alcohol. They were choosing something that was actually helping them to open up and express and explore. That says a lot for that generation. And I think that's why the alcohol is, because it's such a downer, they don't want to go there because these kids are already feeling down.
Yeah.
So I think, even though they lack still the maturity and understanding of what to do with all these feelings and emotions, that's going to come with time. But I think there is something there with them diving more into it.
Well, at least they're aware that they have to kind of work through those emotions and those feelings. Where we weren't, I wasn't thinking, when I was 18 and throughout my 20s, wasn't thinking about like, oh man, there's a lot of things that my ego really does control about my life and like is not allowing me to, see my real potential. I would have never thought that.
No.
You have kids now at 16 talking about, oh, they need to make sure, they get the right stuff to do their hero dose to kill their ego. And it's like, bro, you're fucking, go to baseball practice. Get out of here. What are you talking about? Like, so again, in a lot of ways, Gen Z, like, they are who they are, but at least in this section here, they are very, and I know they probably hate to hear the word. They're like, oh God, you're so old. Like, they are woke to, wanting to do the right stuff when it comes to expanding your mind and understanding who you are. But yeah, there's a lot of changes. And like I said, that is one benefit that social media is bringing, is that it is making a lot more people aware. And it's killing that notion, because we talked about it, like where, and heard it through different podcasts that we've been watching, where it's like they discuss like how alcohol is so, like it's the one drug where it almost feels like you are like a leper if you like, oh, I don't drink. Like, people look at you in like disgust, like, oh, you're just a Debbie Downer. You're just gonna ruin the whole vibe. Why are you even here? I hope you die. Like, it's just like, oh my God, like people get very upset. And we were talking about that, reasons why people don't like and again, I always speak from experience. I didn't like being around people that didn't drink, because it meant like, shit, now we can't drink, dude. Or if I drink, it's just gonna be me drinking, and that's like weird. And it's like, I'd rather just everyone, like, don't kill the mood, dude.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's drinking, having a good time. Don't not have a good time. Mm-hmm. And it was like a foreign concept to believe, like, they'd be like, well, no, it's cool. Like, I'm gonna have a good time without drinking. Like, yeah, but it'd be a lot cooler if you were drinking, bro. Like, it would be, we just think like alcohol's always gonna make the night better. It'll always make the night better. And realistically, if you do it out of 10 times, alcohol probably made 1 to 2 nights better. The other 8 ended in disaster. Like, not even like, oh, it was just bad. Like, no, it ended in disaster, dude. Like, so
for sure.
It's definitely an illusion to think that it always enhances. I'm not going to say it doesn't, because there have been nights where it was just a great night. We were drinking and probably included like a bonfire and singing, and it was great. So no, it does. I'm not
great
saying
singing,
that.
right?
Yeah, the beautiful singing.
So good. Our voices the best.
So there is, and there's that thing that we always thought was a myth, the whole responsible drinking, which again, I really don't know the true definition of it, but where you can
have like one and then you stop.
Yeah, that whole thing. And we were talking about that, how the whole chasing the dragon, how we were saying, like, if everyone just understood, like, if used alcohol for what it could be used, where that first drink that you take and it tastes just like heaven, and it's like so refreshing, and then when you start to feel that buzz and it's just like, like relaxation hits and euphoria hits, and it's like, that was great. If you just said, cool, well, check please, I'm gonna go because I'm done. Like, it's not gonna get better, but we're always under the illusion, like, oh, that filling was great. Let me order 10 more of these bitches, make them doubles, and it's going to be even better. And it's like, it never gets, that was the peak. That's the pinnacle of that night. It's not going to get better.
You know, like we were discussing, that alcohol wasn't created for that. Wasn't created for just one. Wasn't created for just two. Shit. 3? All right. Yeah. You know, at the end of the day,
well, it probably was created for that, but we just, as humans, we just want more and more and more.
I mean, if it really was created for that, then they would sell, you know, bottles that weren't freaking huge, and
they wouldn't sell 12% beatbox.
They wouldn't sell 12%. Exactly, like extremely high, you know, amounts of alcohol. Yeah. It's this industry knows what they're doing, and they know they're creating an epidemic of, you know, alcoholic, very young individuals.
Again, it's a $1 billion industry, and hook them when they're young.
It's a
just
monster.
Like the blueprint was from the nicotine companies. Hook them when they're young. We'll get them their whole life, and that's just what they're doing. And like, again, I just hope the way things are now on internet and social media, that narrative will change.
Well, I think, and that's why I really was excited about this episode, because I think, you know, more and more people do need to talk about it, and do need to talk about why they stopped drinking. You know, and there's so many benefits. I mean, financial benefits. We've saved so much money from not drinking. We feel better.
I can give you a whole notebook list of
there's things like mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, so many benefits from us, you know, just not drinking these last 8 months that I really wanted to go into, but unfortunately it's taking a little longer than we thought. But I wish that people would take the time to, like you said, make a pros and cons list, and really ask yourself some real honest questions about what's your relationship with alcohol? What are you using it for? I share with people how, you know, why we stopped drinking, and the first thing that people say, I could never do that. Like, I can't do that. Like, that's just, I need to have fun in my life. I need to have something that's going to take the edge off, and that's going to help me, you know, just relax. And I think, like, man, if you only really just sat and thought about it, like, the last thing it does is help you relax. It gives you a false sense of making you feel relaxed, but then the anxiety hits, and then, you know, all the other things. Alcohol is such a downer. Depression comes with it. There's so many things that come with alcohol. And again, if we just were to be honest with ourselves of why we're using it, you know, I know that there's people that you know, that they are perfectly fine with really just having one drink, and you know, maybe once or twice a year, you know, like, exactly. And honestly, I'm not sitting here trying to convince people to get rid of alcohol, you know, for good. But I think if you were to just sit and ask yourself why you have alcohol, then you might find reasons why you shouldn't. And I think that's ultimately what we did. Yeah. We sat down, and, you know, there's been a lot of times where, we do miss, you know, certain things about that came along with alcohol. But more and more, I am hanging on. You know, we set out this to be a year, and as we get closer to that finish line, I'm like, I'm not ready to drink yet. Yeah. I don't know if once this year comes, I don't know if I'm ready, because I'm understanding that maybe I wasn't physically dependent on this, but I know that I had a problem with reaching for alcohol whenever I felt scared, whenever I felt, you know, anxiety, whenever I felt stress. And that's not a healthy coping mechanism. That's not a healthy tool to reach for when you're feeling a certain way, because it never really gave me any kind of comfort, or it never helped me think better to come up with solutions. Like, it just kept me stuck.
We thought that it enhanced us, and
no,
I don't know why we would think that.
It didn't. And
you gave us a false confidence, pretty much.
Exactly. And you know, and one of the other things that I realized was that I was willing to tolerate a lot of things while I was drinking. I was willing to tolerate situations. I was willing to tolerate people. I was willing to tolerate, you know, just things that I knew that weren't, you know, beneficial for my life, and all just because I was like, well, you know, maybe I don't really want to go, but at least I get to have a drink. Maybe I don't really want to hang out with that person. I don't really like him that much, but hey, at least we get to have a drink.
Yeah, I'll be buzzed or drunk anyway. I'll be fine. So cool.
And it's like, whoa, really? Like, you were willing to not only put yourself in a situation that you didn't really want to be in, but also on top of that, have a little side of poison in your body, like, right. And deal with the consequences of a hangover, or, you know, just feeling like shit for the next 2 or 3 days. Like, I was tolerating a lot of things in my life that I knew just weren't good. Yeah. And
I think there's just been numerous things that we've realized and were able to realize having a sober mind that are just, you know, how we were looking at it was through the foggy lens of always, you know, being drunk or being buzzed or just having alcohol in our system, or just being people that were always waiting till the next time that we could drink again, you know? Mm-hmm. And he would even come like I said, sometimes it would take 2 or 3 days. So we'd go out Friday and wouldn't feel good until like Tuesday or Wednesday, have like 2 normal days, and then like, Friday's here again.
We were like, oh, tomorrow's Friday.
Yeah, we're going to go hard again. So it's just like, it was just a cycle. And unfortunately, there's millions and millions of people that live on that cycle. Or even a worse cycle where it's just throughout the week. But there's been so many changes in us, both mentally, physically, even spiritually, like you said, that we really want to share with you guys. We really want to discuss, because I think it's one way that really helps us to kind of stay on this course. You mentioned like not wanting to lose this feeling and even being scared of losing it. And that's something I really do want to dive into as well, because I have that feeling as well, you know, and like we said, our year's kind of getting closer and closer. And we have some thoughts on that year coming up, that we definitely want to, like I said, share with you guys. So what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and wrap it up here for this episode, but we invite you guys to come back so that we can kind of share again, you know, take a little deep dive into more detail of specifically how our lives have changed, our day-to-day, just, you know, how we think, how we process things, because it's just been, you know, sitting back and thinking about it, it's been kind of like eye-opening, where it's like, shit, I didn't think that, you know, I didn't realize that. So really interesting.
It's been hard. It's been very, very difficult, but it's also been extremely rewarding.
Oh yeah.
And I just encourage anyone that is entertaining this idea of giving, you know, even if it's okay. I mean, for us,
whatever your challenge wants to be,
right?
You know?
Because for us, we started with 75 hard, right? Like we did 75 hard, and it was like 75 days of no drinking.
Which I didn't think I was going to be able to even do that.
And yeah, we didn't. And, you know, I remember just feeling good and you know.
So funny, because we felt good, but yet we were counting the days down till we could drink again, which was like.
Because there was a timeline, right? And we knew, like, after 75 days, like, you're free and cool, you know. And we planned a Vegas trip right after 75 hard, right? So, but anyways, I'm really glad we did that challenge. Because, and this is why I say, whatever, if you want to challenge yourself with 30, 60, 90 days, whatever it is, set a challenge, even if it's small. Because what I realized after we finished 75 hard, I remember how good we felt. And obviously we, you know, had dropped some weight, and I felt better. I felt, obviously my face had changed, and I felt amazing. I think what 75 hard did was give us a little taste of what sobriety could, you know, is. Mm-hmm. And I realized, like, maybe there is something there. Like, maybe there's some truth that maybe out drinking might be a pretty good idea. Like, maybe
it
go
isn't
a little longer, right?
And all the people that are sober, because we were talking about that, like, people might even be like, because you listen to these like sober stories and everyone literally, it's almost like they're reading a script where it's just like, oh, it's changed my life in this way and this way and this way. And it's like, do all of them, you know, like we said that someone that, you know, is
like, what are they
anti
trying
being
to
sober
sell?
would be like, see, it's just, they all say the same thing. It's not even true. Like, yes, it's just one big conspiracy that they just want to, I don't know, have everyone live a better life. So that's why they're doing it. Some, you know, evil conspiracy, but it's just true because it really does affect everyone in the same way where your life just gets fucking better. Like, how wouldn't it, you know? So
exactly. So that's what I say. You know, maybe you don't need to start off with a whole year of sobriety. Maybe it's just 30 days, you know, then it turns into 60, then 90. But whatever it is, like I said, we had a little taste of it with 75 Hard, and I'm really glad that we did that because it showed us, like, one, not only is it possible, but two, look at how great you felt. Yeah. Now imagine that in a longer, like, period of time and see, like, if 75 days, you know, if you saw all those amazing changes in just 75 days, what is a year gonna look like? So that's what we want to share with you guys.
Definitely. And it's quick how those changes can happen. Like, I Googled the other day, like, how long before, you know, the effects of, you know, removing alcohol from your system, like how long before your body starts to feel it. And they were like within days, by like day 3, by day 7, they said by like 3 weeks, your organs are already functioning differently. Your, you know, mental clarity already starts to kick in. So, like, once you're able to, and that's what I'm saying. People are just like, I only did like 30 days. Like, dude, a whole month? Like, shit, you're gonna feel something.
You're gonna feel it.
Even if it's just more energy, you'll feel it, you know? And
and
that's the thing. And we understand too, we're not just saying this as like a blanket statement, that there are people that are really deep in it and physically dependent upon it. It is a very, very serious thing. If you are at a certain level of dependency, you have to really, like, reach out to a doctor in regards to that, because if you just stop, that can be serious, like, detrimental to your health. So just, you know, do the research, do it in the right way, but whatever you have to do to take the first step, you know, that's why we wanted to do these episodes, to just really show, like, even in our relationship with it, it's just made drastic changes for the good. So
definitely. So
all right, guys, so we will wrap it up here. Thank you for listening. I really do hope that you come back and listen to us go over some of the big changes that have happened with you know, deciding to go down this path, and we can kind of share those details with you guys.
Yeah.
All right. We'll catch you later.
Bye.